evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to What's Up With That, the show that brings you interesting people, places, cultures, and subcultures here in the South Bay, the San Francisco Bay Area, the state of California, and beyond. And tonight, what's up with zombies? What is a zombie? And what's up with Zombie-o-Rama? Well, I've always been sort of attracted to the darker side of life. When I was a little kid, me and my brother used to wait till Mom and Dad went to bed, and then we'd turn on the TV and watch scary movies. Well, one night we were watching this movie that really freaked me out by George Romero. It was called The Night of the Living Dead. And there was all these people walking around and breaking their hands to walls and grabbing people's heads and like eating them. I mean, munching on them, okay? Well, my brother told me, watch out because there's zombies everywhere, and you know what? Bless you, brother, I didn't sleep for like 2 years. And when I went to church, I told my priest, and he said, don't ever talk about that again because you're going to go to hell. Well, here I am, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight we're going to talk about zombies with two zombie experts. Please welcome Dan Vado. He is the president of SLG Publishing. What's up?
How you doing?
How you doing? And Maureen Beavers, she is a zombie enthusiast. So let's get the show going. So what do either of you know about the origin of zombies?
The origin of zombies.
There's the sort of
zombie lore, the folktale.
well, zombies go back. The notion of people rising from the dead is as old as people dying.
Right.
So, and every culture has its zombie zombie lore. And depending on where you go, it's sort of traditional. The zombie that, like we're seeing here, is sort of a unique American fascination with.
Dead rising from the grave.
Decaying corpses coming up.
Yeah,
and
nice, good family stuff, right?
going to.
Good family values.
Well, sure.
And you think about what is the fascination with the dead? What do you think is going on with that?
It's. Go ahead.
I was going to say, that goes back to that goes back to the fear of not knowing what happens after you die. The fascination with the dead goes way beyond zombies. It goes way beyond, it's what most religions are based on.
Right.
You know, what happens after you die. Zombies are fear that people will come back from the dead as they're decaying because they don't perhaps go to a different place, or because they're trapped in their bodies, or for some other reason. It's the fear of our loved ones coming back.
They got kicked out of purgatory.
Yeah, or something like that.
Go away.
Well, to a certain degree, too, it's the fascination with death. This kind of celebration of it is sort of a resignation, for lack of a better word, that we're all going to die, and so let's just have some fun with it.
Right.
Because we all know that we're not rising from the dead in any way, shape, or form, and it's kind of fun to play with this sort of visual imagery in your lifetime, and as a way of sort of embracing the notion that this is where we all end up.
And also, I think people like to play.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the chance to play
Dead.
is
But not
pretty
dead.
good. Right. So zombie culture, okay, it's worldwide, I would suspect. I mean, from what I understand, even in America they have voodoo, they have all different kinds of voodoo's actually, I guess sort of religion.
It is a
Based
religion.
thing. When you prepare for your zombie role, what do you think of?
Rotting corpses.
Okay.
It's not so much a religious thing, because I think what you're trying to say is a lot of the original zombie lore that we know of in the United States, as far as I remember, or as far as I know, comes from voodoo and the people who would be able to control the dead, the freshly dead, for a while. The zombie masters who would raise people from the dead and have them doing their bidding.
So how freshly dead is freshly dead? Like, boom.
Well, from some of the lore I know, the more freshly dead you are, the easier it is to bring you back. So the fresher the corpse, the easier it is to make a zombie.
Okay.
The more dead the corpse, the longer the corpse has been dead, the less humanity or whatever clings to it, it's harder to bring it back.
Yeah. I know in Haiti this is a big thing, this whole notion. So the keys to a zombie, what are the elements of a zombie? What are the key elements of a zombie?
Rotting flesh.
Rotting flesh, torn clothing, something that, you know, really good zombies have, you know, a story of how they died, why they look the way they do, you know, whether they were crushed by a piano or nailed.
Right.
Oh, so the more grotesque the...
Well, no, actually, what you have to kind of, you've been sort of touching on sort of the zombie as a character in folklore, but what you're seeing here, the way that Maureen is dressed, this is more of the pop culture, uniquely American representation of the zombie, because generally, forgetting the Haitian type of zombie, take that aside, because you don't actually die in that ritual. You're just sort of placed under someone's spell, and then you lose your control.
Okay.
So those Haitian zombies are...
So that's just someone in a trance or something.
Essentially, right. And that can be actually real, because people do that, and they use, you know, drugs or whatever to keep people under in their thrall, so to speak. This look of the zombie, it's... Exactly. It's unique and freaky.
Can you use like garlic or something? Is there a defense?
This is the crawling from the grave, or in this case, actually, Maureen has an interesting story. Maybe you want to share that.
The backstories.
Because every decent zombie needs to have a backstory. Because we were talking about this in the green room. I said, you know, zombies rise from the grave. Who buried you like that? And you know, and so, but here's...
She was Madonna. What do you mean?
No,
well, no, I mean...
No, and we had this discussion at the Zombie-o-Rama.
Right.
That they were like, okay, you have to have a reason why you're dead. Why are you dressed that way? How did you die?
Okay.
And so my friends and we were both dressed, you know, kind of in pop culture clothes and kind of like, and I was like, so... We were on our way to the rave, right? This big party, this rave. And we're in the car, and we drive, we park, and we get out of the car, and the guy's like, ticket, please. We're like, oh, here you go. And then, And so we died because we were going to this party, and the guy who took the car, the valet parking guy, was a zombie, and we didn't realize it was a zombie party. So,
so he ate your brains out.
Yeah, he ate our brains.
Okay. Well,
but it brings in another notion, too, that's more contemporary, which is zombie... being spread as an infection, as a disease. So this actually, death is not necessarily a part of it, but it represents sort of a modern day fear that is very real, of a contagion sweeping through and taking people out. And in this case, this is the way you end up, as a drooling, flesh-eating, because that's pretty much all you can do.
Well, I think that concept is very real. I mean, if you look at things that happen in the world and all that kind of thing, the idea of a spreading virus and in the form of a zombie is even more creepy and atrocious than anything you could imagine.
Right. Well, we're being prepared for, you know, possible swine flu outbreak, and so it's the same thing. You know. So
next year you'll have to have a pig nose.
No.
All right. Well, we're going to look at some footage from Zombie-o-Rama, and we'll be right back. And what's up with that?
Hello, I'm Community Television.
And I'm Corporate Media. The channels I own serve as my personal mouthpiece. I tell you what I've told you you want to know.
Wow, that sounds really great for you. I carry local programming by local people and provide a forum for diverse community dialogues that anyone can participate in.
Really local, huh? Well, I own stations all over the country, so my programming is designed to be generic and appealing to the majority. It keeps my corporate advertisers happy.
I connect people to their communities by televising local government meetings and community events, things that would otherwise never be shown on TV.
Huh. Well, I could never do that. But hey, everything I show is carefully screened through focus groups gathered from NASCAR races and Walmart parking lots. I suppose you let just about anybody on TV.
That's right, we do. Community television makes production facilities and training available to every member of the community, who can then produce their own programming and have it televised free of charge.
Well, that sounds terribly unprofitable.
Oh, corporate media. It's not always about money.
Come on, spastic zombies. Spastic zombies of the world unite.
Ah! Oh, those are some freaky looking people. So, Zombie-o-Rama. How did you come up with the idea for Zombie-o-Rama?
Well, I have a downtown business, a gallery, and in the area, the San Jose Downtown Association sponsors during the summer, a weekly movie night, and they move them around the downtown. And they were going to show Shaun of the Dead at my suggestion, and I said, if you show Shaun of the Dead, we'll put together a zombie crawl. And basically, my idea was to do a pub crawl.
Okay.
And
sounds good.
Well, yeah, and it's been
I'm good with that. I'm good with that.
That's good with that.
And it's been
you're on the right track.
It's something that's not unique. You know, lots of other cities have pub crawls rolled in a zombie theme, and they're fairly successful. And I showed them, you know, that this could work downtown in terms of bringing people who don't normally come into the San Jose downtown, especially on a Wednesday night. And the added addition of having the movie there created some sort of undead critical mass, and nearly we were expecting somewhere between 50 and 100 people to show up. My estimate was between 600 or 700 people.
Wow.
The San Jose Downtown Association estimated it closer to 1,000, maybe even over. Nobody really knows because people went flooding out into the downtown, and not everybody came back to watch the movie.
Right. Oh yeah. I could see the people at the Fairmont. Like,
yeah,
there's a little unusual about this.
Yeah. Well, there's some people who work out at Bally's Fitness who probably are still a little freaked out. Matter of fact, I went there. I take a walk around downtown pretty much every day. And a week later, they still had not gone out and cleaned off the makeup from the outside glass at Bally's. And I was just picturing all these people on a treadmill, and people were going, it was like a face mat or, like face imprint left on one of them. So somebody got really aggressive.
So what kind of preparations do you have to do to get ready for Zombie-o-Rama? I mean, including city permits and all that kind of stuff.
Well, there were no permits involved. I mean, there were permits in regards to the showing of the movie, and they had that all. But even that was being done on private property. But what we did was basically just show up dressed as a zombie and go to these places and come back and watch the movie. It wasn't. We never intended it to be as big as it was. It's great that it was, and now people are saying, when are you going to do something else? But it was really, it took me by surprise. It also took me by surprise a number of families who turned out, because we were publicizing this as a pub crawl, and people showed up with their kids, in strollers, and we're
kids aren't screaming or anything.
No, and they're dressing their kids up
They were dressed up as zombies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
the
kids. It was like zombie family.
Okay, I see.
And so what we did was that we had places where you could go and get made up for either free or a nominal charge.
So that's cool.
So
that's
people
great,
who ordinarily would never have done something like that had an opportunity to participate. And I think that's one of the reasons it was as successful as it was.
Well, I think that's a very strong possibility why it was. And I mean, making it accessible to people. People don't know what to do. I wouldn't know what to do to prepare for a zombie. Let's talk about a zombie costume. Okay, you've probably seen a lot of them. I mean, when you think of a zombie costume, what are the essentials of a zombie costume?
Well, there's always makeup. You have the white, dead-looking face, some sort of scar or lesion or some way that you died. So you have to figure out how you died, and then you have to make the makeup correspond to your death.
And stay in character.
Well, you don't have to stay in character the whole time, but most of the time is fine.
Few pub visits.
Well,
right?
it's not as hard as you think. But there are certain times you don't want to stay in character. So, if you're doing a foot drag across a street, stopping traffic, you're going to get a talking to from someone official, and that's probably not what you want.
Right.
Yeah, we did make up flyers beforehand, and we had a website for Zombie-o-Rama, and we put a code of conduct up there which we'd borrowed from other from other crawls, and one of them was walk at a normal speed through the crosswalk. If a police officer or something comes to you, they're not going to be amused by you. Just to answer the question,
Right. Yeah, I don't know.
Whatever. And the other thing that I don't think ever came into play was don't be surprised that even if you have an ID, if you're going on the pub crawl part of it, that you might not get served because
it's hard to tell who you are from. I mean, I don't look like anything. At least
okay.
I hope.
The
I don't look a whole lot
identification
like
issue.
I look like
Okay.
on my ID.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
if I do, then
That's
I'm really afraid.
I never thought about that. That's actually really good. I bet you that's a big thing in Halloween too. Then.
yeah. Well, yeah. There's a
Really
lot
dawned
of.
on me.
My wife used to work at Valley Fair, and they had a big Halloween promotion where they would encourage people to come down and trick or treat with their kids and come into the stores. Well, she worked in a very high-end jewelry store. The last thing you want in that environment is someone walking in with a mask because
Oh yeah.
that's the way all robberies are.
yeah.
Like, hello.
Yeah, that would be a little bit weird.
Yeah.
So, a veteran of the Zombie-orama, Zombie Walk. Tell me, what are some of the most coolest zombie things you've seen?
The coolest
Like
Zombie-orama.
costumes or
So
acts or
there
whatever?
there actually were a lot of really cool costumes. I didn't get to see all of them. I did see pictures afterwards of some that I missed. There was one zombie running around with a record through his head.
Yeah. That was taken from a scene from Shaun of the Dead.
Which was hilarious. There was a guy with a zombie dog. There was a little old lady with like a walker and a bathrobe who was a zombie.
That's cool.
There were just
She might have really been a zombie. Okay, so be careful.
She might have been.
There was one guy that I saw that had a nail.
The nail.
And he would put himself up against the posts or
really?
against the wall to make it look like he'd been nailed to a wall.
Right.
Very cool.
Yeah, just a giant nail through him.
Yeah.
There were there was the guy wearing the hard hat, zombie. We ended up hanging out with birthday zombie. There was a girl, it was her birthday that night.
Oh, really?
So her party was at Zombie-o-Rama. She was running around in this dress with this tiara. She was all green with these pink balloons.
Yeah, she's like Carrie or something.
And she's just wandering around with these balloons, having so there were some really fun and amazing things. I saw pictures of guys who had intestines hanging out.
No, cool. The more the better.
Oh.
I love that stuff. I really do. So I'm imagining this event. So here's, the guy with the nail and people, intestines and guts and blood and whatever. So when you come up to another zombie, what's the interaction?
Zombies don't eat zombies. I mean, let's face it, the flesh is dead. It's not tasty.
No matter
it's
how
rotting.
hungry you are?
No matter how hungry you are, you're not going to eat another zombie. It's just not appealing. Rotting flesh isn't even appealing to the dead. So usually, there's just kind of like moaning and mingling and interacting, and then either all wander off in the same direction or depending upon, how that goes. I mean, it depends on whether or not you get along with zombie or if you're just ignoring each other.
I think next year I'll show up as a maggot. That would that would be.
You can just attach yourself to a zombie.
Exactly.
And,
it would be great. Well, we're going to look at some more photos and footage from Zombie-o-Rama. So check it out. It's really cool.
No, don't come for the camera.
Whoa! That's some pretty scary stuff there. Well, a lot of zombie culture, I think, for Americans, and you've been making this distinction about the American version of zombie culture, comes from horror films, zombie films. And I said in my intro, I remember when I saw the George Romero Night of the Living Dead, really freaked me out. I mean, seriously freaked me out. And the notion that I could be trapped in a shed or whatever in a house, and I keep peering out the window, and there's just more coming. No matter how many they kill, more come and come and come. What about you? What zombie films do you come to mind to you that influenced your zombieism?
My zombieism. Well, there are lots of zombie movies, of course, out there. I think one of the first ones I remember watching was Night of the Comet, which, the comet flies by. Most people are disintegrated into dust, but some of them are only sort of exposed, and so they become zombies for some reason and try to eat other people. Probably trying to refresh their own vital, blood supply and organs through consumption of others.
Yeah.
I never really figured that out.
I'm sure there's a reason.
Oh, I'm sure there's a reason.
But only they know it.
But there have been so many zombie movies. Night of the Living Dead, Return of the Living Dead, a good portion of, what are the ones with, who's the guy, Evil Dead?
Yeah.
Evil Dead, the more funnier versions of the...
Yeah.
It's an interesting development in zombie movies as they go on. They've always sort of inherently been funny because it's just kind of funny.
Right.
Right? But
it's creepy
now,
funny.
Yeah, it's sort of a take on it now is that they're just comedic. Because, they're slow moving and eating brains or doing whatever, just chomping on people's arms. And it's really how we react to it. And the use of the zombies sort of a metaphor. Like you talk about Dawn of the Dead, and you use zombies as the movie was sort of a metaphorical use for racism.
Yeah. Right.
Later, when
in the Atomic War and all that stuff.
Later, when they did, when they're invading the mall, it's about rampant consumerism.
Right.
In Shaun of the Dead, the thing is really about the guy being such a slacker and so clueless that he goes through pretty much half the movie, despite the signs being there, but despite running into zombies in the alley.
So the total,
he's like a day and a half behind the fact that that people are zombies and are eating other people's flesh.
Yeah.
So.
And then zombie culture has also moved into, of course, the video game market, and a big.
Well, it's big, yeah, because you get to shoot at them and not feel guilty about it. That's pretty much the way I see it.
Killing the already dead.
I think it's interesting because it's zombies are just. The whole notion of dressing up and whatever. It's not necessarily a devotion to zombie cultures or zombies. It's just people having fun,
right?
Right, and it's like you want to play a video game where you can blow stuff up, but you play something like Medal of Honor, and those are real human beings there that you're killing, despite the fact that they're Nazis. You go play Resident Evil, it's zombies, and it's on, and it's like one at the head. That's what you really got to go for.
Yeah, but of course, they still come under a lot of scrutiny by people who don't want to have their kids shooting at anything. I think they might
right,
flip to zombies.
And that's fair enough.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, for some people,
right,
it's quite a release.
Yeah.
And it's much more gratifying to shoot the undead than it is to.
Well, I'm sure it is.
Because
they're pretty freaky looking.
Well, and it's more fun. You don't have that little slight guilt because they're already dead and they're scary.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
They need to go away.
They need to go away, otherwise they will eat your brain.
Or eat my dog.
Yes. Or they will eat your dog.
Yes.
Or they will eat your whatever.
Right. And so you also publish comics.
I do.
And you have some comics that are about zombies. Tell me about that.
A few. There are loads and loads of comics about zombies. Right now, or in the last few years, the easiest way to sell a comic has been to put a zombies in or to put a zombie theme in it. So we have some that we felt were a little different. One that we did that was very well received was this book called Dead Eyes Open, where the dead rose from the grave, but rather than being these brainless, wandering flesh eaters, they retained all their memories and all that they had as the living. And what they really wanted to do was just go back to work, go back to their families.
Yeah.
And
have a normal conversation.
Yeah, and then they were
been for the last 1,000 years.
Yeah. People were integrating back into society, and then there's this whole other subplot with the government, whatever, trying to.
Well, there's got to be conspiracy.
There is always a conspiracy.
That's important.
Another book that we did was called Zombies Calling by a Canadian cartoonist named Faith Erin Hicks, and her thing was about the lead character who was just inundated in all manner of, or not inundated, but steeped in all manner of pop culture. She watched every movie, every science fiction movie, every horror movie, read all the comics and everything. When the zombie invasion happened, she was the only one that knew how to save her friends. And so she went from being a geek to the hero. And she's killing zombies with a spork.
Yes.
You know, the
Spork.
spork.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's
so-
impressive.
All the much better.
yeah, yeah.
So she's an action hero. And yeah.
Geek to
Sure.
superhero.
Absolutely.
All right.
And,
Well, we only have about 30 seconds left. What's the future of Zombie-orama in San Jose?
there will be another one.
Yes.
We'll figure it out how. I have actually set myself a goal of trying to keep this going and challenging, if not breaking, the record set by in Seattle of 4,000 people.
All right.
That showed up, and I think it's possible since close to 1,000 showed up, and we didn't really even know what we were doing.
Right.
So,
hey,
and there might be something happening a little closer to next summer. Too.
yeah. Well, I think a lot of people are excited about it. So, I mean, you're gonna have these people going.
Brains.
That's right.
See, there you go.
That says it all.
Right.
All right. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
What's up? As always, don't eat my ass. And to our viewing audience, as always, if you're walking down the street and you see something interesting and you wonder to yourself, hey, what's up with that? Get away from me! Well, tune into our show, What's Up With That, and maybe you'll find exactly what you're looking for. We'll see you next week on What's Up With That. If I'm still alive, good night, everybody.